Hello, everybody. I have a controversial video that I actually already recorded, but I had used a filter. This time I'm filter free. But I had used a filter and it was broken up in two pieces. Plus, I was talking about some extraneous things that I don't think belonged in a video of this topic. So I decided to scrap it. So here we are again. I'm in a women's group on Facebook, and they will sometimes show this picture of this male character. I'm not sure what, like he might be the prince from Tangled or something. I don't know. He's got a bunch of swords directed at him, and it says something like, "What opinion will get you canceled?" or whatever, something like that, right? And I'm someone who I have controversial opinions because I don't tend to just make snap judgments. Hello, Libra. I think things out. And so, because I think about things, then I try to understand. I mean, at the end of the day, do I think that there's a right and a wrong? In most cases, I do. However, I do try to see things from different angles, right? So, anyway, that being said, a lot of my views are controversial, whereas a lot of people just, in my opinion, seem to just like make snap judgments like, yes, no, yes, 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 no. Like, I'm not like that. I'm like, well. So, anyway, this is about mixed race people. Now, I am a woman who has two Black parents. I'm what's being called monoracial, which I like that phrase. And, meaning again, I have two parents of the same background. And so this is a controversial topic, kind of, sort of, for me. Well, when I say controversial, I'm sorry. Somebody may feel like, oh, well, why are you talking on it? You're Black. Um, because I am Black, for one, and then two, because I just happen to have a child who has a mixed background. So the topic in question is, do I consider mixed race people, and I'm referring in this case to people who are mixed with Black, to be Black? Not anything else, just Black. Like they fill out a document, and when they put race, they only put Black. Okay. And my answer to that is no, I do not. Now, speaking of my child, which is a sensitive topic because I'm talking about my kid, but you know, I like to be fair here. Speaking of my child, she has two parents who have African heritage. I'm African American, and my, African American heritage. Me, and her father is half African American, half Mexican. Okay. Her Mexican side is very representative in her features. Like, her hair texture tends to lean more towards her Mexican side. And her coloring leans more towards her Mexican side. People have told her grandmother that she looks just like her. I always thought she looked just like her grandmother, but I can also see myself in her as well. I have some pictures of me as a child, and there's a lot of similarities in our features, which is funny. And I almost feel like her grandmother and I low key made her, and and her paternal grandmother and I low key made her. But no, it's just kind of funny. But she looks like both she and I. And I remember, just quick thing on that, when she came out, and you can actually see her when she was a baby, on my channel and my older videos. Of course, she's 8 years, or not eight, she will be eight this year. But I almost said she's 8 years old. She will be eight this year. But anyway, you can see some old videos with her and stuff. Her hair was bone straight. Now it's like curly wavy. It would definitely be in the type 3 category, whereas I'm type 4B hair type. And of course, she's a lot fairer than I am. I consider myself to be a dark brown tone, and she is light toned. Okay. Um, she's just now getting a little bit of color compared to when she was younger. She was very pale, whatever. Anyway, why I'm mentioning all this is that I remember being very self-conscious that people were going to think that I stole her or something like that she wasn't mine. Or like, or that they would make rude comments like, oh, she looks nothing like you, or da da da. I actually only had two people do that shit. And both of those women were very unattractive. It was two females. Actually, throw in a male there. That's a whole nother topic. And I ain't touching him with the 10-foot pole. But talking about the two women, there were two women who made those rude comments. And by the way, my mom told me that that happened when I was little too. That a family member had made a rude comment about me when I was little, because I was considered to be a very cute kid as well, saying that I didn't look like my mother, and, like basically like pinning my beauty up against my mom's and saying that, you know what I mean? Just rude. But in this case with my daughter, for the most part, haven't run into too many assholes, but there were these two women, both worked at grocery stores. One was I'm sorry to say, a very unattractive security guard. And I mean, when I say unattractive, I mean unattractive, like seriously unattractive woman. Actually, both were doing security, but at two different grocery stores. But the one woman had made a comment. Actually, let me make that four. Let me make that four people. All were black. All were black people, and all were ignorant black people who I would never like, who were, to be quite frank, not good looking people, and who I would never take seriously, but just the same were being rude. Okay, so two were security guard women. The worst looking of the four was this one woman who she made some kind of little nasty joke where she was like, oh, you stole that baby, or something stupid like that. And like I said, I had a self-consciousness because of our skin coloring difference and our hair texture difference when she was little. So that was one little rude comment. I just brushed it off like, haha. Anyway, another one, she was saying that my daughter looked nothing like me. And then she saw my former partner and she was like, oh yeah, she looks like him, because coloring wise, they're more similar than she and I are, that's where she gets her paler tone and stuff, whatever. And then what was the other one? Let me see. One was, see, if I say this, I'm gonna ruffle feathers. I'm just gonna say a relative of someone I used to know, they had made like a rude comment and stuff, and I'm just gonna leave it there because I can't even say what I want to say because then I'm the bitch. So we gonna leave it there. And then last but not least, it was the ex to a friend of mine, who had made like some little joke saying that he thought that I adopted her or something stupid. I'm like, anyway, um, nigga, get a job. Okay, I'm done. Oops. I didn't mean to say that. Who said that? Anyway, yeah, no. Okay. But yeah, all kidding aside. So those are like some of the rude comments I got, but just like for the most part, not really, for the most part, like, people, like I've even had people say, oh my gosh, she looks, just like you, da da da. And, I appreciate that because I can definitely see it now. I see it like I had a baby picture of us, or a baby picture of me and her, and I could see it so strong in that particular baby picture, but like it was hard for me to see it for a long time. And as she's grown up, I can see it more and more, if that makes any sense. So, but anyway, why am I bringing this up? I'm just saying that, she is 3/4 African American, a quarter Mexican. And as I said, the Mexican side is very strong with her, despite it being only 25%. And what would I consider her? What would I classify her? I will say that I classify her as being black, but being mixed race and black. So I would put her, so if she wanted to claim blackness, I could see it for her because she is 3/4 black. So why couldn't she claim blackness when she's 3/4 black, right? That would be ridiculous, you know? And she could, if she had come out looking exactly my coloring and hair type, then nobody would question it, you know, her claiming blackness, right? But because she has a lighter skin tone and uh, you know, different hair type and stuff than the traditional, you know, black girl, then, you know, that's why I would throw in that she's also mixed and also, you know what I mean, the quarter Mexican part. So I see her as both mixed race and black. But if she were half and half, I would see her as only mixed race. Half black and half, say, Mexican, if that's what she was, or half black, half white. And by the way, while I absolutely acknowledge black Mexicans and white Mexicans, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So please don't come in my comments saying Mexican isn't a race, because sometimes I see people say that and I'm just like, bitch, get the fuck on. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Don't play with me. Okay, we know that Mexico in and of itself is not a race, but we also know that, or if we're actually, excuse me, let me correct myself, that Mexican in and of itself is not a race, just like being American in and of itself is not a race. But when the world thinks of Americans, they think of the majority and the ruling class, which are white people. That's wrong to people like me who have generations after generations here. That's true. But we're just being realistic, okay? And same thing for when you say Mexican, people think of people who are part Indian and part Spaniard, that look like Selena. That's what we think of, okay? I mean, there's, you know, variations to it, but that is what we're thinking of, even though there are black Mexicans, okay? So there you go. Anyway, but yeah, so but I was saying that if she were half and half, then I would just think of her as mixed race with, you know, half black and half Hispanic. Um, and so why am I bringing this up? Is that I just want to say this. To me, mixed race people, not it, you know, I gave you the breakdown of how I perceive it, that if you are more black than you are anything else, then I can see you calling yourself black. But if you are, say, you know, 50-50, to me, you are mixed race, not black. Now, I was watching, okay, so days ago, I had recorded these two videos where I was going into this, and I was giving my opinion about why I think black people like to claim mixed race people and why I think mixed race people like to claim black people, or the black race is theirs, and so on and so forth. I will get into that in this video. Since I got time today, I'll get into that in this video. But I saw another video that was, it was some, I hate to say, a goofy white woman who was saying like, white privilege is not a thing. If it were a thing, biracial people would not be claiming to be black. And that's going to lead me into what I'm about to say. Okay, with white privilege being a thing, as it is a thing, and this is not, and it, like, I want to make this clear. I can't speak for other people because sometimes I don't agree with other people that start off saying something that I would say, but then they take it in a different direction, okay? White privilege is not the fault of Caucasian people who are here today that just exist in that system, if that makes any sense. Like, you're just alive in that system. Just like me being an American black person, I'm not doing anything. I just happen to be an American black person. But there are American black people that will tell you that if you go across the world as an American black person versus being, say, an African black person or a Caribbean black person, that you are treated better because of your American status, okay? That is a form of privilege, and that is something that I am not directly in control of, and that is not my fault, and so on and so forth. So white privilege is not your fault. It's just an acknowledgement that overall you have entitlements or treatments or what have you, better treatment in the society than other groups of people. That's all. It's not saying that you did anything wrong. Now, some people may take it that way, as far as who are starting off saying what I'm saying about white privilege, and then they say, yeah, and yeah, if it wasn't for y'all being da da da, and it's like, bitch, okay, I don't agree with that. It's something that you're just born into. It period. It's not an issue of fault. Nobody, or I won't say nobody, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty about it, but it does exist. No question, no doubt. Okay. I've just had a lot of revelations about white privilege and how powerful it can be, but also how fragile it is in the cases where we're seeing white people who are being put down like dogs when they try to challenge the system, especially to protect people who don't look like them. Okay. But even sometimes when they're just trying to protect themselves and they just end up on the wrong side of things, they find out that apparently, the limit is the sky. Like, you thought the sky was the limit, but the limit is the sky, whatever. I stole that from Chris Rock, but where he was talking about white privilege. But anyhow, where was I going to go with this? Oh, about mixed race people claiming blackness. Here are my views. When you have a society that rewards whiteness and you're less than white, compared to your white counterparts, you're probably not going to win. Full stop. You're probably not going to win compared to your actual white counterparts. You are mixed race. You're not white. That doesn't make you black, though. You're just not white. Ask Meghan Markle. But at the same time, using Meghan Markle, there are rooms that she can get into that regular black women would never have been able to get as far as she did. And yet, she still finds out the hard way that racist white people at the end of the day see her as just a black woman as opposed to as a part of themselves. Okay. And I'm just using her as an example because of the absolutely irrational hatred towards her. I'm not her biggest fan, but I also don't dislike her. And I know where the dislike, the vitriol is coming from, and you cannot convince me otherwise. If that were the case, then those same people should hate the entire royal family and not just go after her. YV Edit, who I really enjoy her content, she did an amazing video talking about that. And one of the things that she said that I never thought about before is how ridiculous Americans are to not have taken the W when it came to Meghan marrying into the royal family. Whereas if Meghan were white, they would have, like they did with Grace Kelly, but they just couldn't let go that this woman was part black. I mean, damn, Anyway, that's another story. But, her privilege of being less than black is how she got as far as she did, as it were. But it's still, she hit her head on that ceiling, unfortunately, because she wasn't all the way white. That's my viewpoint on that. What else did I want to say on this note? And in fact, I'm going to be honest, I think I got into it with one of my creators. Not got into it like heavy duty, just, it kind of made me lose a little bit of respect for her. She was a white woman, and she yeah, I really enjoyed her content. I still do, but not on the same level as I once did. I'm not going to say who it is, but she talked about Meghan Markle. And at first, she, to me, seemed like one of the most fair people that I've heard do commentary on her. And then she said something where she was claiming that she doesn't think the dislike towards her is racism. And I'm like, okay, I fold. Like, it's so blatant. It's so effing blatant that for you to say that and you know better, You know better. And for you to say that, it's like, girl, you know? So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I haven't really like been deep into her content since then. Like I'll sometimes, catch her and stuff and throw a little support her way, but I'm like side eye, Anyway, but I don't consider Meghan Markle to be black. I don't consider Mariah Carey to be black. I don't even consider Halle Berry to be black, even though Halle Berry is black passing, or at least she was when she first came out. Okay. I don't know if she has lightened her features or if it was the film that was being used back in the day, but to me, she looks more exotic now than she did when I was growing up. When I was growing up, she to me looked similar to a Jada Pinkett Smith, if you will, like in terms of just a pretty black girl with a light brown skin tone. That's how I saw Hallie. I didn't see Hallie as pale, light skinned. I saw her as like light brown colored, a light brown skin tone, and kind of petite features, as opposed to the flatter nose that I have or the fuller lips that I have, more thinner lips and a smaller nose, but still looking like a black woman. Again, like a Jada Pinkett Smith, I would have put her kind of in that category when I was growing up, and it didn't help that she had the short little haircut too. And so when I found out that she was biracial, I was in shock. I'll be honest with you. I was like, what? What really? Like, and sure enough, of course she has a white mom and stuff. The black genes were strong, but at the same time, now she did to me, I can more tell that she's biracial than I could when I was growing up looking at her. Anyway, but at the same time, I would not call her a black woman. I would say that I'm sure that in terms of interacting with people, she is more hip to the black experience than, say, Mariah Carey. And same thing for Barack Obama, even though I don't consider him to be black either, they are black presenting. And to the black experience, they are more hip to it than, again, Mariah Carey would be in terms of their interactions with people, And so, yeah, you know. Um, but as far as, okay, so I want to get this off my chest really quickly. Going back to the white privilege and why I think most biracial people don't lean into their whiteness or white side is because I think that in the black community, they tend to be more deified, however you pronounce it, that they're more like adored and put on a pedestal because they're higher in the hierarchy than we are. And oftentimes when I look in historical, I'm so sorry because I kind of feel like I'm going into, you know yeah, I don't know. I almost want to say like I'm taught like it's a documentary or something, and I don't want to make it like that. So I'll be quiet in a moment. I'll close it out pretty soon. But I just want to get this off my chest. I feel like because of the whole hierarchy thing in the black community, they tend to be put on a pedestal. That's one. Two, besides the fact that they get put on a pedestal, whereas in the white community, they're put down in comparison to other whites, right? They get put on a pedestal in our community because in the white community, if white privilege is a thing, then they're lower on the totem pole. In the black community, they're higher on the totem pole. you know so that's one. Two, um I think, oh, or excuse me, and okay, when I look back in time and or history and I see black people who have accomplished great things, oftentimes they were lighter skinned black people or even mixed race, sometimes white passing, not always, but quite often. Like I would say disproportionate to their actual representation in our community you would see these lighter skinned people, because most black people are not light skinned. Let's get that out of the way. Most black people are in my color range and darker. Most of us, okay? There's a reason why they call us black and not brown people, okay? Because most of us are not light skinned, okay? Now that I got that out of the way, when you look at a lot of historical figures ranging from, say, Rosa Parks, Thurgood Marshall, a lot of them were lighter toned black people. And then you find out a part of why a lot of them were lighter toned black people. I'm sorry, I had a strand of hair on my lip. The reason why a lot of them were lighter toned black people is because in these academic spaces, not always, but in academic spaces, for instance, it's a lot of reasons why, but in academic spaces where, I'm going to get some water, sorry. In these academic spaces where they had like sororities and all this and fraternities, a lot of times they had what was called a paper bag test, where if you were a darker skinned black person, then you wouldn't make it in. Okay. So the creme de la creme were literally lighter toned black people, because that was who was allowed in those higher tier groups, those most influential and higher tier groups. So when you think about it, it makes sense. It's like if white people had a thing where they only accepted people who were naturally blonde hair, blue eyed, and you couldn't just like bleach your hair, you had to prove that you were truly natural blonde hair, blue eyed, then that's who would be running things, if they had those special specifications, and so that played a role in why, if you look back in history, so many black people who were majorly influential were lighter toned black people, disproportionate to the amount of those black people who were that color in overall black society, whatever. Anyway, and so I think that plays a role. It's still a lot of leftover colorism. I've talked to people who, namely from Louisiana, but just period, who acknowledge that they have a lot of colorism in their families. I've seen it in my own family. I ain't getting into that right now, but it's in my own family. I did a post. Chrissy has a video that was talking about, I'm so sorry, hair again. She has a video that was talking about, she does content on colorism, and she had a video where she was talking about, what was it? The different skin tones and how she classifies everybody, right? And Kelly Rowland would be milk chocolate, and this person like Nia Long would be caramel, and just, whatever. She was doing these color classifications to so that people could understand how she judges skin color or something like that. And anyway, I commented on that video and I gave my honest opinion about my coloring, and I was saying that I think that I experienced colorism in my family, not saying all family members at all, but that there were family members that I felt treated me differently because I was a darker brown skin tone. And I know that I'm not the darkest skin tone. That's not my point. As Chrissy explained it, it's all in comparison. Like in Beyonce's family, I would be chocolate because at least from the mother side of the family, they were lighter toned people. You know what I mean? So just using that as an example, it doesn't mean, everything is relative, as they say. And I remember I had some people in those comments who were attacking me and saying, oh, you're da-da-da-da, you're lying, and you're this and you're that. And I'm like, okay, bitch, okay, you're gonna tell me about my experiences. So anyway, I'm mixing colorism and racism and the whole biracial argument. But just long story short, or shorter, I think that there's definitely a hierarchy where lighter and mixed race people are rewarded in the Black community. And what is that saying? Go where you are celebrated and not just tolerated, right? I mean, that's human nature in general to do that. So that's why I think a lot of mixed race people prefer being around their Black side, and why a lot of Black people celebrate mixed race people. Okay. So those are my views. But again, I do consider mixed race people to be both. And that's okay to be both. Fun fact, my best friend who I introduced in my birthday videos, she's biracial. Some people would call her white passing because she has been mistaken for white. She's also been mistaken for Latina, but she has a white mom and a Black father. So, you know. And also one time she came by my house and someone else answered my door. And before they answered it, they had peeked at her and they said, "It's a white girl at the door." So yeah, she's very fair skinned, but she is biracial. So anyway, those are my views, and it's no hate on biracial people or anything like that. I just, if I had a child with a white guy, I would consider that kid to be biracial. I would understand that if they came out looking like me, then I would definitely have to educate them about how they present to the world. Again, Barack Obama, Halle Berry, you have to teach a child that presents as mixed or Black, which is probably going to be the majority that are going to look mixed or Black. Here and there, you will have completely white passing mixed race people, and you would still want to educate them, but it may not be their struggle to explain what it's like to be Black, right? Or to be perceived as Black. But if you have a child that appears biracial or Black, like, I'm going to end it here when I just tell this quick story. Now, this is getting deeply personal, but I've talked about my daughter. So my stepson, he has a white mother, and his father he shares a father with my daughter who is Black and Mexican. He came out looking biracial. Okay, he looks biracial. On top of that, there have been times where my former partner and I would go out with him when he was little. And by the way, my former partner was delusional about how white he looked. I'm not kidding. He would say, "Yeah, some people would think of him as white." And I'm like, nobody cited is going to think of that child as white. Bless your heart. But, my former partner has issues when it comes to his Blackness and stuff. That's another story for another day. As it were, but he tried to convince me of that. And I remember multiple times people would not only think that I was his mother and that he was his father, basically saying he looks Black. Okay. Now, again, he doesn't look completely Black. He looks biracial. He looks like, he is the child of a white woman who made a baby with a Black man, in my personal opinion. And to a lot of people, that's how he looks. Or he looks like he could be mine, according to some people, whatever. But as it were, I'm trying to remember why I'm telling this story. I know what it was. And again, I'm getting deeply personal here, but he's had some interactions that I believe were racially motivated when he was a student at a old school that he attended. This one little girl's mother took it, and mind you, he's a little boy. He's now 11. This is back when he was about 9 years old. This one little girl's mother was complaining that she doesn't want her daughter associating with him. And from what I gather, I didn't get all the details, but it sounds like it's racially motivated. You know, um, a family member of his mentioned getting stares when she, who is white, would take him out, and he to other people presented as Black or biracial. Again, he looks completely biracial to me. He doesn't look all the way Black, but he doesn't look white at all. You can tell that he's biracial. And so anyway, um but yeah, so that's a child that definitely needs to be educated about being mixed race presenting and or Black presenting to people. you know, even though ironically he is more white than anything. But those black jeans were working overtime, okay? Much to, I'm sure, certain people's chagrin, but they were working overtime. So, anyway, end rant. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye.